All right, guys, I know you're dying to know how the Plains Wars end. And we left off with the flight of the Nez Perce, and it was super devastating. And so, in this video, we are going to talk about the ending of it all, which really begins with the movement of the ghost dance. And so, it's the 1880s. But pretty much all of the native tribes have either been completely wiped out by the US Army, forced onto reservations, or gone into exile in Canada. The buffalo herd has been hunted to almost extinction. It is completely decimated. There's a very famous picture of the skulls from the buffalo that the white man has killed. And if you have never seen it, well, then you're not in my class because all of my classes see it. But if you've never seen it, I highly recommend looking it up. Just to get a sense of how many buffalo were hunted just to get rid of them. And it's pretty much as hopeless as you can be while still having some sense of hope that you can resist the US Army. And this brings us to the spiritual movement in Nevada, when a man whose name I'm going to try to pronounce, but again, we all know I'm not great at this, Peyote Wovoka, prophesizes the extinction of white people and the return of old-time life and the superiority of the natives. And what he says, he is a messiah, right? He says that we can go back to this by faithful dancing, clean living, peaceful adjustments with the whites, hard work, and following God's chosen leaders, of which he is one. But if we do all this, then it will actually hasten the resurrection of the dead relatives and restore the days of prosperity. So I have here, I know it's kind of hard to see, we have our final chapter, if you will. This is Wovoka, and then these are the other chiefs that get behind this movement. And the ghost dance movement, as it makes sense to be called because we're invoking our dead ancestors, spreads across the plains and it becomes a 4-day dance. It's a 4-day dance. It just keeps going. The leaders are waving eagle wing fans in front of audiences, and this will induce a trance. And in the trance, the dancer is supposed to be transported to the afterworld, where the dead relatives could be seen living in the old happy life of the pre-reservation era when buffalo was still abundant. So the first Oklahoma ghost dance is held in April of 1890. And it is held at the Watonga Reservation. And so during this time, there's lots of dances being revived. And by September of 1890, almost 3,000 members of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Kiowa, Wichita, Caddo, and Apache tribes have gathered on the South Canadian River and danced every night for 2 weeks. And as you can imagine, this concerns the U.S. government officials. So when this comes up, they order, as one does, the arrest of Sitting Bull, who had come back from Canada earlier that year because for some reason we've decided that Sitting Bull is responsible for these people and these tribes and everything that's going on. And so what should we do but arrest Sitting Bull? And so we are going to have, as you can imagine, quite a stir. And I do have a picture of Sitting Bull somewhere, but I don't know if it's readily available for you, in which case we will just move on, as though I know as much as you would love to see Sitting Bull. I do have a book recommendation at the end of this that will give you all the information you need, and you simply cannot live life without reading this book. So let's just move on for now, and we'll discuss Sitting Bull and what happens next. So we've decided we are going to arrest Chief Sitting Bull. And in November of 1890, the U.S. Army goes to the Lakota Reservation to stop the ghost dance. And Sitting Bull happens to live nearby the Standing Rock Indian Agency. And Sitting Bull being the good chief he is, absolutely refuses to let the federal government repress his followers. And so the reservation agent, whose name is Major James McLaughlin, decides, again, we're going to arrest Sitting Bull. And Miles is ordering troops around the reservation in a peaceful attempt to remove Sitting Bull. But, sorry, Major General Miles is in charge of McLaughlin. I should probably throw that in there. So Major James McLaughlin, who is the reservation agent, is ignoring the Major General's orders to do this peacefully. And he deploys 43 tribal policemen to Sitting Bull's cabin to arrest Sitting Bull. And Sitting Bull is compliant. He says, fine, arrest me, take me. But the followers of Sitting Bull are angry and they don't want to turn him over. So the agents start to fight the Hunkpapa men. And in the end of this scuffle, 9 people are killed, including Sitting Bull. And Sitting Bull's death is a big moment. I mean, all of it's a big moment. This is a really big moment for the Lakota. They start to prepare for the U.S. Army to attack them because they know that if, you know, any of the men have been killed, have been U.S. military men, that they're not getting out of this. Sorry about that smoke detector in the background. So the Lakota are preparing for this inevitable U.S. Army attack. And they head towards the Badlands of South Dakota and North Dakota, I suppose. I'm not entirely positive where the Badlands are, which Dakota. As well as other areas like Pine Ridge, where the Oglala chief, Red Cloud, is attempting to negotiate the preservation of the Lakota traditions without bloodshed. So like the ghost dance and stuff like that. Now remember, we've arrested Sitting Bull over these traditions, and now, well, we never actually arrested him. He ended up dead, but it was over these traditions. So Red Cloud is attempting negotiations to allow these traditions to continue without bloodshed. Meanwhile, Satanka, who is the Miniconjou chief Bigfoot, also heads to Pine Ridge Reservation, but not as a ghost dancer. Just, he's there to help out. And unfortunately, this person has also been placed on the Bureau of Indian Affairs list of hostile people. So as he is leading his group of 350 followers southwest from the Cheyenne River Reservation towards Pine Ridge, our old friend, Major General Miles, orders the 7th U.S. Cavalry to intercept this crowd. They confiscate him, all his weapons, and they escort all of them to the military prison in Fort Omaha, Nebraska. And we're going to visit the final last stand, because everybody talks about Custer's last stand, and we already talked about that. But what we really want to look at is the last stand of the Plains tribes and their absolute fight to the end to hold on to their life and their culture and their tradition, and how brutally it has taken away from them, as everything else has been. So we're going to end this right here with the spoiler that the next place we're going in the next video is Wounded Knee, and I will see you there.